You're listening to Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast of Lingerie Fighting Championships. And now, here's your host, Michael Larkin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast for Lingerie Fighting Championships. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is a woman who's very eclectic, who's very multifaceted, the one, the only adult star, content creator, model, fitness model, naked news reporter, the one, the only Miss Luci Power. How are you, Luci?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. And folks, when you think of beauty, strength, and dominance, and you just think of the overall art form, internally and externally, that really exudify and exemplify women, Luci, I got to say, you've been doing a lot of great work for a number of years now. I can honestly say, as I'm sure the audience can say, you have actually always been killing it. I really do love what you do.
Thank you. I've just been doing it for so long now. I sort of forget. Like when you were listing all those things off, I was like, oh yeah, I did that and I've done that. But yeah, it's been great.
Well, that's the thing too. I think anything in life, especially when one is on their journey, right? You really have a way of just opening up doors and avenues and really paving the way for many opportunities. And I mean, for you, with thus being in the adult entertainment industry and creating the content that you do, I got to ask you, what kind of gravitated you towards the adult side of things and the content creation side of things? Because I mean, it's all an art form at the end of the day, everything that we do in all facets of life. So what kind of really gravitated you towards it?
Well, I'm a late starter in the industry, and I never really thought I would become a porn star or a content creator. I was sort of accidentally thrust into it just through personal circumstance. Like initially just really needed some money. And I thought that it would be a fast track way of getting some money to support my family. But the reason it was sort of like easy for me to make that decision is because I've always been really open-minded sexually. So I've done some swinging with previous partners, and I've sent videos and photos of myself to boyfriends and lovers my entire life, like since probably the age of 18. And so when the opportunity sort of came up, I thought, can I do this? Is it something I'm willing to do? And I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to give it a go. And so I started like really small, but I sort of developed like this bit of a cult following because being a fitness model, like I was sort of like one of the first ones in the industry in Australia to be very open about it and public about it. People knew that I was a mom, and I had this little following, and it just sort of like grew from there. And I was really enjoying it and loving it. And that's why I just sort of went with it.
First of all, I got to say, first and foremost, what I love about you talking about that is the open-mindedness that really comes within sensuality. I think what's great about sex as itself, besides love and passion and the overall rawness that goes into it, you're going into many different things. There's such a variety. We all have our uniquenesses. We all have our preferences, so to speak. So being able to really explore that is absolutely amazing. And I think what's great about it, too, to add to your point, the fitness model side of things, I mean, when you have something of the bodybuilding standpoint or something that has to do with fitness, we get to see the internal beauty, but also the external beauty of the discipline and the overall craft that goes into it. So there's many things that really kind of layer it up and is a nice little recipe for the overall gravitation to the attraction side of things. So, I mean, I got to give you kudos. And plus the mom side of things, that takes precedence over everything. Family's everything, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And that was the main reason I did it. I want to be able to support my family and be comfortable. And they were number one. And I know it's just sort of like an interesting way of doing it and a little bit taboo, but it was just the opportunity that was presented to me and I went with it. So, and I made it work.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and it's so funny. And I always say this, like you mentioned the word taboo. We're in the year 2025 now, and we've all really evolved and revolved, so to speak, when it comes to said industries and different facets, like I mentioned. But what I love about it too, as well, is what used to be taboo, like here in the States, when you're watching Skinamax or however you want to identify it with channels and what we had as far as pornographic material and adult content was really consumed. I mean, nowadays we have OnlyFans, we have ManyVids, we have loyal fans, we have so many different outlets that the community just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and what a community it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for you, I got to ask you, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to ask you first and foremost, what you're doing with Loyal Fans, and I've seen a lot of the content there. How awesome and how amazing is that side? Because, again, we mentioned community, but the overall broad spectrum is just right there.
Well, what I like about all of the different platforms is you can manage it and run it however you like. So I started Loyal Fans because I wanted to start gravitating away from OnlyFans because there were just so many headaches and issues with that. And I thought, and so I'm like, well, I can manage it a different way and run it a different way. And that's just how I do all of my different platforms. I think I have about 5 or 6 different platforms, and I manage them slightly differently so that it might incentivize customers to subscribe to more than one platform. But also it allows my customers to pick and choose what works best for them. So OnlyFans has like the monthly subscription and then cheaper PPV videos. But my Loyal Fans is a higher monthly subscription, but it's all no PPV and everything is full video placed on the wall. Some people just prefer that. I think it's better value. And yeah, that's why I like all the different platforms. It's great that way.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And I mean, we always talk about how, I mean, back in the days when you had like your internet babes of the year with like your Pamela Andersons and your Jenna Jamesons, beautiful women, absolutely works of art. But I think even more as we talk about it revolving and evolving, today's day and age, we're really consumed, especially with Twitter and especially so many different platforms that really can be adult friendly and showcase this in little snippets, like you mentioned with these websites. What I do love about it too, as well as we mentioned the craft, we mentioned the art form. When you look at porn in itself, it's an entertainment, it's a business, but also at the same time too, there's subtleties, there's intricacies, there's nuances that go with the storytelling that really makes everything just fun with what you see on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it too that way. And it is quite intricate and it can be quite complex, and I don't think people realize that. And it is one thing that I really love about the industry is that you can really flex your creativity. It's not even, especially being an independent content creator, it's not just about the performance in front of the camera. It's about the marketing, advertising, connecting with your customers, and all of that stuff as well. So you can choose storylines and themes, and like whether it's going to be more amateur or a little bit more professional. So I like that it's such a dynamic industry. And I think that's what really just works well for me, because I have ADHD and I get bored very quickly and I could never just be in one job forever, like a 9 to 5 or anything like that, or even just stick to probably one style of porn. You know, I like that I've been able to move from fitness model to more MILF. You know, I deliberately changed my body type and put on weight, reduced the muscle mass and the leanness so that then I could appeal to a different demographic. So it is really quite intricate. And us as performers and directors, producers or whatever, we put so much effort into the creativity and the creation of a business, really.
It is. And I mean, I'm going to say this right now. First and foremost, the transition is absolutely there. This one over here with the fitness side to the MILF side of things, it does suit you beautifully, and it really does show within your craft as a whole. Much love and respect. But you're very welcome. And I mean, I look at it like this. You posted not too long ago the Miss Universe physique, and I got to say, this badass over here with your competitions, I got to say, number one, amazing. But number two, my goodness gracious, woman, that was a hell of a photo.
Yes, yeah, that was an incredible time of my life. It was exciting, but it was also quite dark as well, because in that photo I had injured my back, and that was my last competition because I decided to retire due to the injury. And like that photo where I'm flexing, I was in significant pain then, and the whole show and performance that I had to put on, I was in pain, but I made it through and I won the world title. So that was excellent. But yeah, the bodybuilding takes so much commitment and dedication to the craft, like probably even more so than porn and more so than so many other things. It's quite obsessive, but it was something that I was dedicated to and helped me through a certain stage of my life. And I really, really like it, but I don't think I'll ever compete again.
Well, I got to say, I think within life, as they say, you make the most of your time, and you certainly did within your bodybuilding tenure. And I mean, yeah. I look at it like this, the transition, and you go to porn, and we mentioned something that was taboo. I've always viewed this, and I think this is me just coming from as a young man going through puberty, and then you start to see and develop what you like from the sensuality side of things within pornographic material and what's over here, what's over there. Mm-hmm. I think what's great about how we explore, even what we find upon, even as we're younger and we get to our teenage years and adult years, we are so so more, like we mentioned, open to it. But I think it really is a great chance to explore, number one, but also to be the best representation of our presentation, so to speak, representing yourself and presenting yourself well. It goes a long way within your overall being. It's really almost like a spiritual awakening, so to speak.
Yeah, wow, that's such an interesting way to put it. And I think that's a really nice way to put it, because there is so much negativity placed on porn and the damage that it can cause to young adults and teenagers and stuff like that. So you're absolutely right. It can go the other way, where it really contributes to a positive growth and mindset of intimacy and sexuality. So I think that's great. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, because I could even say this within some of your films. And what I love about your films, and I can say this with the utmost sincerity and respect, when I watch a certain film or I watch any form of entertainment, so to speak, not only are you living in the moment, but it's really about moments and memories created and moments and memories yet to be created. So when you're on the screen, or whether you're behind the scenes, it doesn't matter. Your vibrancy shows, you as a whole, you're loving what you're doing, and that invites the viewer, has that gravitational pull, so to speak. So stuff like that really piques one's interest, and that's a great quality to have.
Wow, I really, really appreciate that. That's a lovely compliment, because I think one reason I've done like semi-well is because people do feel like they connect well, and they know that I am genuinely enjoying it. And I do genuinely enjoy it. So I've always been a sexual being before I got into porn, and I really like connecting with people, men and women, and just being intimate with them. And then I created a character and act in that way, but it's still so genuine, because it's just a part of who I am. So it isn't actually really acting. I'm just being me. And then if you have to sort of like slot in a character or a theme, then I just naturally do well with that as well, which I found. But yeah, I am myself. I'm very genuine. And I think I've had a lot of feedback about that, actually. And that's why a lot of my fans stick around for a long time, because I continue to chat to them, and they know that I'm just very real and very honest, and talk about my day. And I don't care about being vulnerable. I'm okay being vulnerable in front of people and with people privately. And yeah, I think that shows.
No, it happens. You have to be real and authentic in today's day and age. And I think in today's day and age, being more accepting, and like you mentioned, the open-mindedness, and it's repetitive, but it's so true. In today's day and age, we have to be more receptive to others. I always look at it from a social media standpoint, right? We could talk about how something like porn can be taboo, but what you see on social media, if you could be positively proactive, whether it's in the adult entertainment industry, whether it's life in itself, and you have a united, not divided front, because everybody nowadays, it's just this, and it's not a lot of this. You are bringing people together. You're relating to people. It's evoking emotions. It's eliciting reaction. If you have that ability and you have that capability, then you're golden at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's what's needed more within the industry and outside of the industry is connection and supporting each other. There's a little bit too much competition, but that'll never go away, because that comes down to just personality differences. And people in any entertainment industry are going to be a little bit full on, slightly narcissistic. Like, we all have narcissistic characteristics, especially in the entertainment industry, because you're on display. You're okay being on display, and it is all about you, and that's okay. But I do see growth and friendship happening when there is more genuine, nice collaboration, and people supporting each other and boosting each other up. It's good. And you do get a lot of it in the industry.
Of course. And I mean, it's you amplified to like the 1,000th degree within the volume, but also at the same time, you're being yourself. And I think with anybody, this goes for anybody. I mean, I always look at it. I'll make a pop culture reference here. When you're watching MTV True Life back in the mid 2000s, yes, I'll go the True Life route. You see something like True Life, I Want to Be a Dominatrix. You're focusing on a topic that a lot of people are like, oh, but I'm saying if you really dig down deep, and if you really analyze, dissect, and decipher anything, especially within the adult entertainment industry, there's a lot of things that people can learn too, because you never stop learning in life. You never stop learning each and every single day. You have to look at everything like a learning experience, and especially within the adult entertainment industry, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera, it's a learning experience, and you're adapting, and you grow as a performer and grow as a person. So, I mean, the sky's the limit in anything that you do. It's just how you have to view it within the right lens.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to constantly check in as well to see how you personally feel and change while being a performer in the industry. And This industry taught me so much about myself, but it taught me a lot about other people as well. And not just other performers, directors and producers, a lot about the customer. And I think that's why I like doing a lot of that sort of work, is because you are appealing to people in some deeper way. Like, a lot of it can be very surface level. People just want to jerk off and have fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. But especially when it comes to kink, like, dom work and other forms of kink, there's so much shame involved in that, in feeling like you are aroused by a particular thing that isn't normal or considered normal. So when you see a porn star indulging or acting in that way, and you can connect with them as well, like additionally through OnlyFans, then that helps reduce the shame. And I'm really, really, really strong on that point. I think it's really important to try and reduce the shame as a customer watching porn when it comes to particularly kink, but even just watching porn, like, it's a normal thing.
Agreed. And I think in today's day and age with normalcy, we heard this expression used from the ends of time. I mean, you hear about let your freak flag fly. It's very true, and it's very adamant within those sentiments, because it's just like else at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? We all like what we like. We all are who we are. Just because you like a certain thing and somebody else may not like it doesn't mean you're wrong within your sentiments. I think in today's day and age, normalcy is key. And I think at the end of the day, we're all normal. We all have our little quirks and everything about it, but those quirks can really be exuded and accentuated and even amplified. And I think if you have the right mindset, and if you have the right stance within your journey and stance in life, it really goes a long way to see people how unique you are and how the person is and how you're receptive to one another.
Very true. I agree with all of that.
I will say this about you, Miss Receptive over here. A lot of people can be receptive to a lot of the role play stuff you do. We got to say, probably one of the doggone most sexiest stepmoms in the game over here doing your things. I got to put over the role play videos. Like, a lot of what I've seen of your work, and again, great work in itself, Miss Power, but god dang it, man, you play a hell of a stepmom and a mom in general. Some of the best of the role play stuff, man.
Yeah, I know. I actually really like it. And I think it's just because it's a little bit of a kink of my own. So I feel like when I'm doing that role play, I really immerse myself in it, and I can get very aroused while I'm filming, which really comes off on camera. And I just draw on that. But I know for a fact that it's a very popular theme and it's a very popular form of role play. But because I understand the psychology behind it, behind this genuine desire for like step family fun, which isn't even step, let me tell you that. But it's just such a biological urge, and it's so common, but also there is so much shame involved with that as well still. And I just don't, I think it needs to be minimized a little bit. And I think the role play, the stepmom thing, it's super fun. It's super fun. I never really thought that I would be like popular at this age and doing stepmom stuff, but it's just so huge. It just is amazing. I love it. Yeah.
No, I'm right there with you. First of all, over here, which age over here, you're a dynamo. Let's put that to the front. Don't even worry about the age. Nothing. You're a dynamo no matter what age, man. You got it going on. But I look at it like this from this standpoint. Whether it's the stepmom or whatever, like a lot of that stuff, people don't realize like how much high demand that is and how much fun that can be. Because to quote the great Mariah Carey, "Sweet, sweet fantasy baby" with ODB on the track, that's what you're doing at the end of the day. You're being that sweet, sweet fantasy baby that people can gravitate towards. And I mean, we say it all the time. But it's like if you're a stepmom, if you're a teacher, look in pop culture, Britney Spears, right? When Britney Spears came out with Baby One More Time, my goodness gracious, the world with them coming out as the schoolgirls and whatnot, and she's in the auditorium with the basketball, there's certain images that really stick with somebody. So if you can have it stick with somebody, it's timeless. And that really brings a lot of people to, hey, man, I want to see this. So it works hand in hand with everything with your surroundings.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And in real life, people are fantasizing about these sorts of things all the time, even if it's not like a deep kink or a deep fantasy and something that you obsess over it. Most people, I can't really say for that. I can't speak for most people because I'm just a bit out there. I've certainly fantasized about having sex with teachers. And I remember actually with my second university degree, I just had the hots for my stats lecturer. And he was like this 50, 60-year-old and like dorky looking, but I like dorky looking people. But he was so passionate about what he was teaching. It was arousing to me. And I totally would have had sex with him if I decided to be inappropriate at that particular time, So these things happen in real life. And especially with the teacher thing, people like fantasizing about teachers, like teenage years. The teenage years is when you're developing your sexuality and your personal identity and your sexual identity, and you've got hormones running around. And so then you've got these women who are sort of in like a position of authority, teaching you what to do. They're loaded with information. Sorry, my words just are like all over the place at the moment. You know, they've got the information, they're knowledgeable, and they're telling you what to do. So, you know, that combined with you developing your sexuality is going to create a fantasy later on in life, a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, I'm just stuck on the stats teacher. Just the math is mathing, the statistics going, just the nerdy 50, 60-year-old stats. Yeah. Okay. No, and I don't think I've ever told this story, and I'll share this now with the listeners and you as well. So when I was in my senior year of high school, this was 2010. So I had a applied chemistry teacher. Her name was Miss Carpenito, and she used to wear nice dresses. And oh my goodness. Now, when she would walk around and she would teach, say we're like learning about the periodic table elements, right? So she'd walk around, she's giving the lecture, and she, on like her ankle, had like a little nice rose tattoo. And sometimes when you're a kid and, you know, you say you're sitting at the desk, you got a pencil or a pen, sometimes, you know, you just got to drop, and then you got to take a little quick peek and then come right back up. So I can honestly admit, as a young 17, 18-year-old man, I did have my moments as well, because my God, Miss Carpenito was a fine as wine teacher. So I can understand the side effect when you're talking about your stats and your nerdy and dorkiness. I get it. We all have that. I get it.
It's so natural. Like, it really is very natural. Like, people are just starting to think about sex at that age, and you're getting curious, and you've got physical reactions and emotions and hormones just flying around. So it is just perfectly normal to think that way occasionally, you know?
Oh, agreed. And I mean, it's funny because it's like back in the day, and we talk about like the sites now and the community that's really grown from them. It's like back in the day when you had Naughty America, and one of the first websites I think I ever came across as a teenage young man was a site called My First Sex Teacher, which is based upon a lot of just like college students having sex with their hot teacher. So, I mean, it fits, and it's a nice little balance of what we get to see. I mean, Van Halen, for God's sake, I got it bad, I'm hot for teacher. So you see it in music, so many different realms, you know?
Yes, absolutely. So that's the thing. Like, most people know where these desires come from, and then it's just society that shuts it down and says that's not normal. But and that's why I like working in this industry, because I can choose to make it normal, you know, within a healthy way.
Oh, agreed. And I will say this, because we talk about your videos and your content, but I got to say, you son of a gun over here with your imagery standpoint. Let's put this into the forefront. This one over here with her badass tats, which I can see right now. Beautiful artwork. Love the tats, by the way. I got to put that into the forefront. I love a beautiful woman with tattoos. You certainly are. You're very welcome. But God dang it, man, it shows the nice little edge to it. And with this show, as we mentioned, folks, it's Lingerie Fighting Championships. The lingerie is a perfect aesthetic of what goes into our fighters, our personnel, and just in general. So I got to ask you, Miss Luci Power, with your styling and profile and self, the lingerie aspect of what you like to wear, because you certainly take a great photo with any different your photo shoots. What's some of your favorite lingerie? I got to ask for the style and aesthetic type of vibe.
Oh, wow. Like, I haven't really been wearing a lot of fancy stuff lately, because a lot of the stepmom roles that I've been really focusing on are really just about wearing basic underwear. And I really love that because it makes it more realistic. So at the moment, I love comfort. But apart from that, like, honestly, Honey Birdette used to be amazing before they sold out to Playboy. The quality was just outstanding, and I was happy to pay the price for that sort of quality. And it fits. Most of it would fit my body type. And that's the hardest thing with me trying to find a brand of lingerie, because I'm quite thick, but I have a little waist and I'm muscular as well. So it is really challenging. And I try so many different brands all the time just to make it work. So overall, like, Honey Birdette are pretty good. But I will mix it up with like fast fashion, and I hate supporting fast fashion. But if I'm doing photo shoot, content shoot, back to back over a couple of weeks, you need a lot of different styles. But really, mostly when it comes to just like style and not brand, I like things that are colorful. I'm just a very colorful person. And if it's vibrant and popping, then I love that. And lace, a combination of lace and silk. And sometimes I'll mix it up and have the full kit with the stockings and the garters. And then other times I just like a really skimpy little bikini. So that's one thing I love about this job, is that you can mix it up and just go absolutely all out there with your style.
I'm going to put an image into everybody's mind here, and especially this one's over here. You got the lingerie side of things that very shows some elegancy and overall sexiness and just everything. Or sometimes, like this one over here, you can have a nice little bikini, like Cisco once sang, that thong, 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 thong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could also have like MTV, and I'll give another people for MTV was. It's like when MTV used to do spring break and they were in Cancun, right? And you saw those badass models walking out there with those bikinis. You can have that even type of vibe with it. You can really spice it up, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. You can just go all out. But one reason why I love the MILF and the stepmom stuff is that I can just wear my normal clothing. But the reason I then look like the sexy MILF is because I got the big boobs, So I could wear a shirt and shorts, like denim shorts. I don't even have to be tiny shorts. But as long as they can see that there's no bra underneath, that's hot. Or if you've got it open so you can see some cleavage, that's hot. It's just the idea of it. And I think also when it comes to style, like we're talking, very explicitly about types of clothing, but really style is also about your attitude and your presence overall. And I think people know that, when I'm looking them in the eye, I might be thinking of what's going on underneath them. Like I'm dressing them down with my eyes, and they know that I'm thinking about sex and that I'm highly sexual and that I want it. And so then almost it's like it doesn't even matter what you're wearing.
First of all, beautifully said. And I have to say, to add to that point, because it's very, very true. And I mean, you brought up the thickness over here. I think a lot of us can talk about being down with the thickness, so to speak, as it's known. And I mean, I look at it like this, like you mentioned here, like besides the fact that we have the style and the profile on the lingerie side of things and the clothing, I think what really makes especially women, the beautiful part of a woman and just as an overall being and spirit within itself, I think it comes with the internal and external traits, the factors, the voluptuosity factor, if you will. There's connection, much like with porn in itself. We can even do with scenes and just in general life. It's connection and synergy. If you have that right sense of professionalism, that right sense of connection and communication, then you're golden. So, I mean, there's a lot that really we get to see in our everyday lives that really transition and transmogrify within life in itself and on the camera and behind the scenes. So there's a lot of different elements that really provide with a lot of synergy.
Yeah, it's so true. And it works on a personal level as well as a professional level as well. And the people who are successful in this industry, you can see that they know how to communicate with others. They know how to connect with others. And that's their colleagues as well as directors and producers. And they're responsible while being sexual, and just being able to talk but also be professional and give back and not have like some dumb attitude and all that sort of stuff too. But yeah, connection and communication is very important.
I think what I also love about the industry in itself with the many great performers in it, I like to also call it the 2 S's, and I think you can agree with me on this. It's being safe and spectacular, the proper testing, being safe within your scenes and everything that goes together, and spectacular, really just applying your craft in amazing fashion. So the safe and spectacular aspect also really comes within the scenes and in itself with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it allows you to be completely free in how you perform because of that level of trust, because you know that they're being safe. And that, then creates the space to be spectacular.
And I got to say this, speaking of spectacular, I'm going to put this into the forefront here because the links will be in the description below this fine show. Luci Power, your YouTube channel, man. I got to say, love the YouTube. Subscribe to it. You do a lot of great work on that content as well. Really showcases, you're welcome, really showcases your authenticity, your genuinity. And I got to say, if you really want to find out a lot about the great toys on the scene, and I got to put this over, I love the toy reviews, man. You do your thing on that front. You get to test a lot of stuff out there. Like, how awesome is that? Because that's become a big proponent within a lot of your works, man.
It's really good. It allows me to continue creating content in a fun way when I run out of ideas to create content. So the YouTube channel, it's done well and I'm really proud of it. But I stopped creating a lot of content because I felt like it was just getting a little bit stagnant and I really didn't know what I wanted to talk about anymore. Like obviously within this industry, like it's fluctuated how much I've wanted to contribute. And then like lately there hasn't been a lot of other sort of like lifestyle or even like about porn star, about Luci videos because like I just went through a significant burnout. So that stopped, but and that's why the toy reviews have sort of taken over because I just get companies all the time reaching out to me going, hey, do you want a free toy? Give it a review and put it on your Pornhub and do the safe for work version on your YouTube. and that's what keeps me producing the content. So I have been really enjoying it. It is fun reviewing toys because I still think using toys at home on your own or in a couple is so important for fun as well. So that's why I like to do it.
I will say this as someone who has seen both the SFW and the NSFW versions of both of them. I will say this. I love it just because I think it also gets to show not only that, like you mentioned, spicing up in the bedroom, whether it's couples or just in general. It is, we mentioned the informative side of things. If you want to use the right toy and you get to see it within your sensuality and just your solo stuff there, it works. I think it goes hand in hand. And I think a lot of that really is very keen to just keeping the sex drive and the sex thing going, but also at the same time too, it brings people together with what they want to find in the bedroom, so to speak. Dare I say, get your freak on, to quote Missy Elliott, so to speak. So, I mean, it works. It goes hand in hand with everything, you know?
I love the references back to like 90s music. I love it.
It is what it is. It fits, man. I'm sorry. It's like a tick.
It's great. It works well for me. So you're always bringing up artists I like as well. Yeah, the toys, they're important. They're important. I mean, they're not for everyone, but so the review for me does two things. You know, one, it's a genuine review of the toy, and I never get told what rating to give it. I give it a genuine rating. And then it might encourage couples to play or people to play on their own to help boost their sexuality and fun in the bedroom. But yeah, I think when it comes to me in the past, having like looked on websites for toys, you really don't know what to expect. So I genuinely hope that when people see them, they look at the toy, consider the toy, and hopefully my review and use of the toy can show them how it can be used. Like, I just hope that it's actually quite effective in terms of someone wanting to buy a product. And then I've got so many fans who just like to watch it because they like to watch me masturbate, and they'll just be getting off to that. They have no interest in buying the toy at all. So it's like, it has two functions, and that's why I really like it.
Well, I got to say, you surpass and you also delight and excite and ignite when it comes to those videos. I wish that the utmost sincerity and respect. But yo, definitely check out those solo vids, man. It's very informative and it's very sexy. And I will say this about the sexiness vibes here, Miss Luci Power. Yo, we mentioned tattoos earlier, and I want to ask you about tattoos because we mentioned different art forms in this thing that we call life, especially within the adult entertainment industry. But god dang it, man. I have 2 tattoos on my body. One is in dedication to my grandfather who passed away when I was 9 years old. And one is called Sanctified, which means I'm blessed. So there's many different like cross and tribalistic stuff on my arm that really goes into the spiritual realm. But I got to ask you, talk about these badass tattoos because my God, man, the edge on it, and it applies a lot of sensuality and art to it. I dig them.
Thank you. It's so weird. Obviously I'm like covered in tattoos, and I don't know if I'll get any more. I'm just having a bit of a break, but I would stand up and show you. But to be honest, what I'm wearing here is like a dress, right, but it has a bodysuit attached to it, and I don't have the bodysuit actually clipped together, so it's going to look very awkward. But maybe if I just like trim my leg, I can just quickly show you my legs. See, it has a bodysuit, but it's not even attached there.
Oh, okay.
So, like, hold on. I'm trying to do this without showing you my vajayjay. See, that's one of my favorites.
I love it.
The anime. But the tattoos, I think I started doing it because we could get a bit dark here. Do you want to get dark or not?
Good.
Okay, so I've been in therapy for years, and I think everyone should be in therapy for a number of different reasons. But one thing I realized, I think, with the tattoos is, for me, it was almost like a form of self-harm. Like, people who get tattoos, they like the pain, right? And I have been a self-harmer at one stage in my life, but it didn't last very long because I'm vain and I didn't like the scars. And so I realized that the tattoos and exploring the tattoos and getting more of them helped with that need for pain. So I really like that element of it. But also, I love how pretty they look. I just think they make my body look better. They're pretty, they're colorful, they're dynamic. I get different styles, and each of them has a different reason as to why I've got them. They don't all have a deep and like a meaningful explanation. Some of them are just like, I really like that design, I want it. And sometimes it's been, that bit of my body looks blank on camera when I'm fucking, so I just need to fill that. So that's why I got the Jessica Rabbit tattoo on my ribs. I was like, oh, it's looking a bit bare, I want to fill it. But yeah, so they've been great. But the first time I ever not rejected. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the word here, but I'm just like a mental blanks. Was upset at myself for getting tattoos was when I got into the porn industry, believe it or not. I've been turned down so many times because of my tattoos. And I thought, who would have thought that an attractive woman with tattoos in the porn industry wouldn't get certain roles or wouldn't have certain companies, booking me because of my tattoos. I'm like, if there's any industry in the world, you would think the porn industry would be more accepting of it. But I found I received so many rejections because of my tattoos. And as one of the main reasons I actually got out of mainstream porn or decided not to pursue it more was because of the constant rejection. So, that was the first time I actually thought, wow, I probably shouldn't have got so many tattoos in my life. But now that I'm not really pursuing mainstream porn, I could just go wild with it if I wanted to.
I gotta say, first and foremost, I mean, Jessica Rabbit, anime, and everything on you, like, that's cool. I mean, it shows just not over your personality, but also, like, and we talk about the body being the canvas, but I mean, I think when I look at it like that too, as well as it's a form of expression. And I think that's the best part of life is just to have the expression. And oh my God, when you mention that, it reminds me of, first of all, I love my father very much, but I'll tell you a funny story. Like, when I first got my first tattoo, which was, let's see if I can get it on camera here. That right there, which is a nice little piece to my grandfather. So I got that when I was 18, and my mom went with me because my mom also has a tattoo of her own, right? One is called John 3:16, and she has like a nice little butterfly like on her chest, which came out amazing. So my mom and I were getting tatted at like 2:00 in the morning because there was a local spot. I know this is funny. Mother and son Bonnie getting tattooed, but so where I lived on Long Island, New York, there was a spot called John's Tattoo, still there to this day, folks.
Wow.
So it was a local spot. So I went to high school right around the corner from where that tattoo place was because there's this big like mini mall. There's like tattoo shop, pizzeria, deli, like everything is like right in one vicinity, right? So we go there at like 2:00 in the morning. There's hardly anybody there. So my tattoo artist does that. And he does my mom's John 3:16 arm. Now, mind you, I'm going to say this in the nicest way as an 18-year-old because I love my father very much. My dad had no idea that I got a tattoo, just for the record. So one day I'm at the house, right? So my parents had went out. I took like a nap because they were just going. And so I'm like, you know what? Let me just rest here till they come back, and then we're going to go out for the night. So I'm sitting there, and I'm wearing like a shirt kind of like this. And the thing is, my dad could see like this little bit where like the ink is. And then that's how he found out that I got a tattoo. I'm like, well, you're not crazy about him, but hey, you're going to find out somehow. So he found out while I was sleeping, and you could see a little bit of the ink where it was. True story. So yeah, my dad wasn't a fan of it, but he got used to it as I got older.
They always do. They get used to it. So my first tattoo I got underage. I think I was maybe 16, and it's 18 that you're meant to get them here in Australia. Right. And my mum had given me money to go to the local fair, and I took that money and I got on the train with my best friend. We went into the city, into like a dodgy street in Adelaide, South Australia, and I got a tattoo on my stomach and used the money for that. And I hid it from her for like 3 months, and then one day she found it because I used to wear like back in the day when like hipster jeans were a thing, like really low on the hip, and it was just poking out the top. And she was just like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got a tattoo. And she didn't care. Like, my mom is super open-minded. That's part of where I got my open-mindedness from. She didn't mind. And then it's so funny. The other day, my daughter, she's 18. She just came back from the States for a vacation. And she was like, oh, yeah, I got a tattoo, by the way. And she showed me this little sun she has on her hip. I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. But, yeah, so now I'm like, my mom.
My mom was very, very open-minded with that too. Yes, I get it. But no, that's the thing too. I mean, first of all, that's cool. You get a tattoo and then you find out months later. And I mean, 16. I mean, look at it in piercings too. Like a lot of the kids get like their ears pierced at 16. So I can respect that. And I mean, I think that's awesome that your daughter has that tattoo now. And I mean, I think that what it adds to it. It's another extension.
It's her first one. So I said to her, we should get like a matching tattoo at some stage. And so maybe that'll be what I get next. I'm happy just getting like little sticker tattoos here and there. The most recent one I got was actually of the Orlando Magic NBA team. I got their logo on my leg on the outside. That was actually the day before I flew out from the US when I moved back to Australia. And because I've got so many big tattoos, I've got a lot of space just to put like little filler tattoos in. So that's probably what I'm going to do for a little while.
First and foremost, you got to represent the O-Town, man, with Orlando Magic. I like your style, getting the Orlando Magic up in there. Okay. You can take it back to the days of Tracy McGrady and Patrick Ewing and all the greats on the Orlando Magic. Yes, I like your style, a little NBA flow there. Okay, very cool.
Well, I'm very new to following NBA. My partner, he's actually really huge in the NBA, in like following the NBA. So he taught me a lot. And I do love live sport. My dad is English, so I grew up watching a lot of soccer and tennis and just everything. So I really do like live sport, and I realize I love NBA. It's so fun to watch. And I don't particularly, I wouldn't say that I'm like an Orlando Magic supporter. I don't even know if I really have a team because, I'm in Australia. But because we lived in Orlando for a year, I'm like, well, may as well just like support them because I lived in Orlando for a year. But my most recent game that I watched was at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. I watched Knicks play the Nets, and that was excellent.
I like your style as a New Yorker. I was all about the New York Knickerbockers back in the day with I'll send the players to everybody. Latrell Sprewell, Marcus Camby, Allen Houston. Mark Jackson will be here all day. Like those teams, and especially when the Brooklyn Nets were the New Jersey Nets and you had Jason Kidd and Kerry Kittles and Richard Jefferson. Like that's prime era of basketball. And I mean, especially now what they just had the All-Star game with the 3-point contest and the slam dunk contest. Like, Mac DeLong just killed it friggin' on the last All-Star game. My goodness. But yeah, that's the excitement of the NBA for you.
Yeah, it's just great. It's just fun. It's a fast game, and they're just super good at it, and like watching it live is just epic. I love the atmosphere, and yeah, that's good.
It is. That's the beauty of sports, ladies and gentlemen. That's the exciting and igniting factor of what you get from the overall experience, because everything in life is just one big doggone experience. And I have to mention the experience that you have had. First of all, I've seen a lot of your scenes with like Johnny Sins and Lee Corrals, who's another beautiful woman who's done bodybuilding. My goodness gracious, shout out to Lee. But like those Johnny Sins, like Sophia Locke, like you have just great chemistry with not just those people, but everybody. I put that over so much, but the chemistry is there, man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I just think it's just because I'm a sexual person, and I reach out to these people because I want to work with them. I want to have sex with them. So, that it just works like that. And I think when I first started, I was just, there's no way I would have thought to have reached out to someone as big as Johnny Sins, but I just built my brand and I built confidence in that. And then I realized my reputation was growing because there were people reaching out to me that I just thought, wow, why are they reaching out to me? And I thought, well, it must just be that my reputation is getting better. Not that it was ever bad. I just meant it was growing. And that comes down to just being professional and being a nice person and being a good person. And that's all it is. And then when I realized, when I first met, I think the biggest star I worked with was probably Johnny Sins, I think, from memory. And he was just so nice and just down to earth, and they're just people. They're just normal people. And that made me realize I can reach out to anyone, and all they can do is just say no. And if they're not going to say no, they'll say yes. And then you meet them and they're just like every other person in the world. And then you have a great time and you connect and have a great shoot. And I would love to work with Johnny Sins again because like he's such a passionate person. I think he would probably be another type of person that would connect really well with others. And it's a certain quality that some people have, they're sexual, they're intimate, they're passionate, and they really enjoy what they're doing. And it comes down to that.
Agreed. And it's all about precision, presentation, and just going into what you're doing and loving it. Like you mentioned, the passion side of things. And I mean, I see a lot of great things when it comes to the adult entertainment industry, and really people see the focal point of what we get into as far as expressing themselves in the art form and the craft, which is very, very adhere to what we both try to put into perspective here on today's forum. But you really have to just, again, we talk about open-mindedness and looking at it with the right lens. I'll make another pop culture reference since we talked about a lot of 90s stuff. Look at Bob Ross. When Bob Ross used to paint those doggone paintings for 30 minutes, the man would start up with a little splotch here and then bada bing, bada boom, we got waterfalls and mountains and everything at the end of those 30 minutes, right? Like if you can look at a painting like you can look at a woman or a person much like Bob Ross does, man, that you're golden, man.
Yes, absolutely. And I wish more people could consider porn or adult entertainment as a form of art, because It is. It can be. And I know it isn't always. And that's the issue, is there's been too much of the stuff that is damaging for people to really appreciate the stuff that is more art form like, or that comes from people who are more genuine. So that's the biggest issue. But I mean, I'm sure art's had plenty of its critics, with like there's nude art, and you think of sculptures, and there are plenty of famous artists that would have been turned down or judged because of how open-minded it is. So I think it just comes down to people like to criticize.
Oh, agreed. I mean, there's the entertainment part where I'll mention it. We'll take everybody back to 2002. When Spider-Man came out with Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst and William Dafoe, there was a porn parody version of that called Spider Babe, which is a very, very sexy film. If it's still out there, for those who've never seen it, go out your way, because it's very, very done. It's a little cheesy, but it's very well done. Of the girl gets the superpower and then sex scenes galore after that. But you have that type of vibe and creativity too, as far as the entertainment side of things. I mean, look at the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like that movie's legit like 19, 20 years old this year, which is nuts because it's one of Steve Carell's best roles. But it's like when Paul Rudd's like, here it is, Boner Jams 03. Those are just scenes that I was really into in the summer of 2003. Like, you can quote that stuff and it's timeless because it's funny, but it's also open-minded to what people do, because mixtapes, number one, and number two, you're recording some of your favorite scenes and you have it on video, so you have it in your own discretion.
Do you think that happens these days? Do you think that people will remember their favorite scenes and their favorite movies? Or do you think the industry is way too oversaturated for that?
Ooh, now you see you're flipping the script on me. I like your question.
Sorry, you don't have to answer that.
First and foremost, no, we are going to talk about this, man. That's
okay.
Cool. I like your style. But no, I look at it like this. I always go with it in music, because I was talking to a buddy of mine, shout out to Chris. Like, we talk about music and like performances, and I'll equate it to music, right? So we could talk about how like in the 90s, all that was so big on Nickelodeon, and they had all these artists like Drew Hill, which was Cisco and Tell Me, and you had like all these R&B artists and stuff. Like, stuff like that is timeless. We're in a day and age where something can be popular this week and then it's gone the next week. Like, you could talk about like Sexy Red and all these artists and like the iShow Speeds and the streamers. That's great, but it's all about what they're putting out into the universe. Is it just I'm playing and doing this stuff and just being myself on here, or am I just going out from the camera and acting buck wild, so to speak? It all depends on the perception, really, what you take in. But to answer your beautifully asked question there, I honestly do believe, I think a lot of people, if you can resonate and generate with something and it's timeless, it'll stick with you. But also at the same time today, you always kind of have to constantly be on the grind and stay consistent with it. So it's a mixed bag, but I think so. I think if you can resonate and generate with people in all forms, that's a plus. I think it does. I truly honestly believe it does.
Now that you've said that, I think I tend to agree, because I think of like the sort of content that I produced, the porn I produced, it's not like a movie, certainly not movie length features or anything like that. And it doesn't always have a title that would be like a movie that you would think of. It's related very personally to me. Like, my stepson came over and we did this and we fucked. It's not just a MILF fucks a stepson that people might remember. So I think it would come down to people might not. And also I think a lot of porn stars these days produce so much porn. It is like constant and it is excessive and it is so much. So how is anyone going to remember all the names of these clips and whether they're amateur or whether they're professional? And so, but people will remember people. And that's where I think it will come down to as well. They will remember people, and they might not remember certain scenes, but they'll be like, oh, just say if I wasn't doing anything over the next couple of years, people might be like, oh, well, I remember Luci Power. She was this MILF from Australia. But they wouldn't be able to remember a name of a movie that I did. That's the way I think of it. So it depends on sort of the person and the context. But you're right. People will remember.
I look at it like this from a marketing standpoint. Your name is Luci Power. What's one of the most popular songs of the 90s? Snap. I got the power, which is so popular. So, I mean, and also if you really want to analyze, dissect, and decipher it, like power means so many different things to many people. So, I mean, it's a word that's very distinctive with a lot of things that can relate to people. So, I mean, that right there says it all. It's all in the name. But also number two, in today's day and age, like you mentioned, it's like MILF fuck stepson, or we do this and then stepson comes over, we fuck. Like, look at back in the day when we had websites like Big Sausage Pizza. Yes, there was a site called Big Sausage Pizza. It's just, all right, they come over, here's the pizza delivery guy, open up the box, sausage, bow, right in the middle of that, and then it leads to sex. So I mean, stuff like that does work. It can be corny, it can be campy, but it works.
It does work. It does work. But the thing is, I also think what happens a lot is there's nothing original anymore. It's so rare to get anything original. Everyone has done this big sausage pizza, even little content creators in Australia. And every time I see someone advertising it, I'm like, oh, here we go again. This has been done. Everything has been done. Yes. I cannot wait for something interesting to come out that is different. But it's hard because everything has been done. It's just like, well, how can we think of anything new? And I'm really looking forward to directors, producers, content creators who can come up with something new.
I'm right there with you on that fact because I also look at it from a stand-up comedy aspect. So for those who are familiar with Matt Rife, so he did a comedy skit from the Laugh Factory, right? It's a very popular video on YouTube. He's talking about watching porn and whatnot. And he goes, I'm going through my search bar, right? I'm on Pornhub. It's like, you don't want to watch the same porn over and over again. So you're like, seen it. So he builds up the joke. And then he goes, I go into this one porn that I haven't seen. And it's this guy, right? And he's cooking eggs. But yet, I don't know how long he's been cooking eggs, but he's really cooking these fucking eggs. And then the little step girl comes in and the stepdaughter's like, hey, I really, really, really want to go on this field trip. And he's like, you really can't go on the field trip. And he's like, and then he's like, how bad do you really want to go on this field trip? And then he takes his pants down and then a blowjob commences and it's a POV scene. So stuff like that, it goes. Is it original? Not necessarily, but also at the same time too, it's fitting within the description. All right, we'll make a 40-year-old version of this as we're really, really analyzing it. Look at it like this. Before Boner Jams 03, big giant, I'm just trying to show you a big giant box of porn, Andy, and he's yelling at Steve Carell so loud that the neighbors can hear it. Think of Paul Rudd like that. When you're talking about variety of porns and what I just mentioned with the Matt Rife joke, much like what Luci Power is talking about, think of it as one giant big box of porn, Andy. That's what it is.
Yes, absolutely.
That's how you have to look at it. But I mean, porn parodies in itself, like look at porn parodies. We've had years of they did a Brady Bunch porn parody. They did a superheroes porn parody, Avengers. They've done one about the Jersey Shore. They've done about this. Like porn parodies are great, but it's like, how many times am I going to see a porn parody? So, I mean, I can see that. Yeah. There's many different ways of it. You have to be original.
Yes. And, look, I think that's when I started losing a little bit of interest in working in the industry was when I realized there really wasn't much original stuff going on. And I'm just like punching out the same thing over and over again. And I still stick to the stepmom thing because I just get a lot of work. Like there's just a lot of people who want to do it. So you do work where the work is, but I'm definitely interested in doing something a little bit out of the box. So as soon as there's an offer or an idea or a collaboration where it is a little different, I'll be jumping on it, so to speak.
I like the innuendo there, jumping on it. Okay. jump on it. Oh, like Toto, friggin' Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I like your style. Okay. But literally jumping on it. Okay. But no, I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. I could honestly say out of the probably like 20 plus years I've consumed the adult entertainment industry and everything that's in the annals of my mind, so to speak. I think what's great about the adult entertainment industry, and I could see how a lot of people can lose interest about the originality of it, but I will say this, it does make for great moments. And another one that just kind of came into my head, it's like when you're watching, and I'll put this into perspective for everybody, when you're in 2005, 2006, now I'm 13 or 14, right? And you're watching Room Raiders. Yes, I'm going the Room Raiders route. And you got these 3 contestants, right? And you're literally wanting to date this person because of the contents of their room and how their rooms look, because maybe that'll see what kind of person they are. It was a reality show. It was big here in the States. So you have Room Raiders, right? One of the key components, a little minuscule component, if you will, of those show was, I need to get the spy kit for this because you don't know what is on that bed or what is there. And somebody would leave like porn, a VHS porn in the TV, or someone would have porn over here. Like that was like the big thing was the spy kit back in the day. So, yeah, it was a reality show on MTV in like the mid 2000s. It was called Room Raiders, and they had the spy kit like that, like that.
That's great. I still think there needs to be, and I don't know if this has been done. I haven't actually consumed a lot of porn. Most of it's for research or because I use my imagination a lot of the time, as a lot of women do. But I don't know, and you might know this, if there's been like a reality TV show where there's all porn stars together. Like, has there been anything like? I think that would be interesting. I think people would absolutely love to watch that. Like they're in a big porn house, but it's just sort of like they're doing tasks and normal shit, and some of it might incorporate behind the scenes of filming porn, but it's like everyday sort of stuff with big porn star names.
Okay, so I'm smiling as you're putting this little creative juices flowing here into the area here, because as I'm thinking about this, it's like one big porn version of what VH1 had with the Surreal Life. Like, you had the celebrities, like there may have been like a nude model on there, or there may have been like someone who did adult work, but nothing of the sorts here in the States. So it's like, think of like the Surreal Life, but amplified with porn is what you're going for. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people, you know, even though you have OnlyFans, there's a lot of creators and porn stars who will hire people to run those pages. It's not really them talking. But I really think the general public who watch and consume porn, they'd like to see their porn stars just living everyday life. Like, even I would probably watch it, because even though, say, I've worked with Johnny Sins, for instance, we worked together and there was a connection, but after work, that's it. There's no chatting. And I don't follow him on socials a lot, so I don't know how much he gives of himself and his personality in the online sphere and on social networks. So I would probably want to watch it if someone like Johnny Sins was on it, just to see how he ticks through the day, how he connects with people, the sort of conversations he might have with another person. So I think it would be interesting. And it doesn't even have to be sexual. People really just want to be in the lives of actors they see online.
I like that. I like that a lot, just because it gets to show the actual person and the aftermath of what you get to see and what it kind of is like behind the scenes thing. I like that and I dig that. Yeah. Think of it like the real world, but minus like the hookups, or like think of the Jersey Shore minus the hookups. Like, you're just like,
basically, because you don't need the hookups, because you can just go search for that. They're all over the internet.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Yes, no, but that's true. I think we do need more of that. Like, I mean, it's great to have the Shock TV. Like, mind you, back in the day, we had like the Flavor of Loves with Flavor Flav, and you had the Rock of Love with Bret Michaels, and you had all these dating shows, and that's cool. But it's just like actually breaking it down to see the person have like a documentary type of vibe to it, but mixed with reality. That sells well. I mean, they tried to do that with like Danny Bonaducci with Breaking Bonaducci, but also at the time too, Danny Bonaducci was like on steroids and drugs and all that. So it made for like debauchery, and you're trying to show realism because he's been with his wife since like they first met. Like they married the day like they met right at the time. So it's just like, it's interesting, but also it's very dark. So if we cannot expose the fact of like drugs and stuff and actually have a real heart to heart, it can work. Yeah,
for sure.
And I will say what can absolutely work is definitely, and I will say this to you, Miss Luci Power, I got the power over here. You, my friend, are an absolute delight to talk about an array of subjects and just a beautiful, beautiful spirit. And I would love to have you back for round 2 on this fine podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you this evening.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. Like, this has been great. I love to talk. Many people know that. That's why I'm always online. But this has been lots of fun. Thanks.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I will say this, don't apologize for ADHD as well. As someone with ADD, I'm right there with you. I get bored easily. I'm like over here, I'm over there. I get it. So as soon as you said ADHD, I'm like, I get it. I totally get it.
That's good. I'm glad.
I got you. But yeah, a couple final things before we promote the social medias, ma'am. As someone with a pearls of wisdom and words of wisdom, that you do you have any advice? And I love asking this question because we all kind of learn into that, like we mentioned in today's forum. Do you have any advice for a lot of the content creators coming up now that want to get into the industry, that want to create? What advice would you give them?
Well, if they want to get into it, okay. The most important thing is to make sure you are doing this for the right reason. And know that it will be out there forever, but also don't do it if this is some temporary thing, because you can actually mess up other content creators' business and lives if you get into it, film, and then decide you don't want to do it anymore and you want to retract all of it. I've had lots of content creators that I've worked with who've been relatively new who have said, I'm no longer in the industry, please take it down. And a lot of people, that wouldn't work because you've signed consent forms, but morally, I like to take it down, and ethically, because I just think everyone has the right to change their minds. But really, if you think that's going to be you, don't fucking do it. Don't do it, because you don't know who is going to agree with you and take it down. And then you can affect their business. Or someone who isn't going to agree and keep it out there forever. And everyone sees it, family sees it, future employers, children, future children, it's out there forever. So just make sure you really, really want to do it and you're very secure and happy with yourself. and accepting of that. That's it.
Beautifully, eloquently, and bluntly said. I like your style. Thank you very much for those words of wisdom. And I will say this, one other thing I do have to mention as well, because I mentioned it earlier in the program. I have to put it out there because I've seen it. Man, the naked news reporter stuff. I have to put that out to the perspective. I am very entertained by that. I love that. I got to say, I've seen a lot of the naked news stuff. I dig it, man. You're entertaining with that. I love it. I had to put that to the forefront. I dig it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That was such a fun time for me, something very different, very challenging because of my ADHD. And believe it or not, I'm actually quite shy. I can't even say shy in front of the camera. I get nervous. It's not like a very natural thing for me, especially in that context. This context is totally fine because we're having a chat and there's no one else around. But when you're having to be very professional, read lines, and there's lighting and that sort of setting, that was really quite challenging for me, but I got through it, and it was a great experience. I really loved it. Very fun, and it would be wonderful if they had something like that in Australia as well. But yeah, I'm really glad I did that.
I will say this, if y'all have not checked out some Naked News Reporter, this one is on the scene to make a news reference over here, doing the damn thing as only as you can do. Definitely check it out. And Miss Luci Power, where can we check you out on the social media fronts? The floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Oh God, I'm everywhere. So I have Instagram. My handle is Real Luci Power, and that's Lucy with an I, and it's Power. I say power because I'm Australian. My ex is Real Luci Power, and through those platforms, you will find all of my spicy stuff as well. And I have Pornhub too. If you just search Luci Power, LUCIPOWER, you'll find me in all the places you need me.
So if you want to see this Australian dynamo and all her content, the links will be in the description so y'all can consume it, y'all can take it in, and y'all can breathe in it, man. And what y'all can also take in is LFCfights.com Lingerie Fighting Championship. If you want to check out our latest events, it's LFC 40 Lingerie Fighting Championships 40 Booty Camp 5 and LFC 41 Lingerie Fight Club. It's a little bit of MMA, it's a little bit of wrestling, and it's a little bit of clothing. And also when it comes to LFC with this show, you get to see a lot of great personnel. You get to see the fans, you get to see the fighters, and you get to see some beautiful people like LP over here. No, I'm not talking about a CD album. I'm talking about Luci Power. What's up? So with that being said, check out LFCfights.com and subscribe to Mike Larkin 92 on YouTube for all these fine interviews and programs. And Luci Power, do you have any final words to your fans, to the faithful? Any final words to the peeps?
Oh, well, I just love you all. If it wasn't for my fans, I wouldn't be here. So you're my world.
I love this woman. Ladies and gentlemen, life is an art form where we're all applying our crafts. Continue to apply your craft in amazing fashion. And it's like the title of this podcast and my mindset. Folks, beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Luci Power, include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Just like warm days, the springtime, get butterflies. Can't control myself when I'm around you. Soak up the fragrance, we're here for a while. Nowhere to go, girl, let's enjoy the ride. It's the feels you give to me, yeah. It's the feels you give to me, oh. One step, keeping pace, taking our time. Girl, I wouldn't trade it all for the world. With you, I get high. With you, I'm alive. With you, I'm away. How do we find love in a hidden place? Let's just escape from the noise and the lights. I feel the tingle and the goosebumps, girl, with just one look in your eyes. It's the feels you give to me. It's the feels you give to me. It's crazy how you broke right through this summer heart. I knew it